institutional staff and the field parole staff, those are civil service positions, so those folks tend to be really invested and stay once they are able to obtain those positions. So those are very, very steady units. The legal staff is probably newer. I've been there the longest, it's 3 years. But I wouldn't say the turnover is very high. Our victim services staff has been consistent the entire time I've been there.
So I guess what you're telling me is you follow if it's a civil service position, it's only somebody in the civil service group or lot that gets hired. They wouldn't hire outside of that.
Correct, it would be off.
It would have to be in the civil service. And would you have to, and I'm only asking this because I really don't know, you would never overpass a civil service person to somebody else?
Well, if we ever did that, we would have to answer to a civil service appeal. Do you
have any of those?
We do. We have one. Actually, we just resolved it last week. But if an individual is bypassed, they have a right to appeal, and that did happen towards the end of last year.
Why would you bypass a civil servant if they're more dedicated? From what you just told me, if they're so dedicated,
it sounds as though the field services staff initially felt as though those folks were probably not the right pick, but I think in the end realized that that probably wasn't the best choice, and that civil service matter has been resolved.
How many lawsuits against the parole board right now?
I believe we're around 20 at the moment.
And
20.
What type of lawsuits are these?
Most of them are inmates.
I mean, I know people are always suing the parole board, but that's
right.
A lot.
Yeah, and just as soon as one resolves, there's a new one. So it's kind of a rolling basis. Usually they're individuals that are challenging the decisions. They're unhappy with the decisions, so they will file a complaint seeking certiorari review, asking the judge to review to make a determination if there was anything arbitrary and capricious about the board's decision.
That makes sense. So I've been told in by victim advocates, and they're really upset about this. The victims more than the parolees, probably, or possible parolees, that many of these life decisions are 8 to 12 months behind. In their 3 to 5 page decisions, and you have a team of 4 lawyers, I literally cannot understand that. They had been coming out previously in a maximum of 45 days. What's happened? The decisions used to be longer, with far more detail, and they were getting out to people faster. With no staff, with budget cuts, where you now have, how much money do you make?
What's my salary?
Yeah.
$117.
Okay, so what's the average salary of your attorneys there?
I'd say high 70s.
Okay, and parole board members make like $90,000. So you're going to take a salary cut to go on parole board.
I believe they just got an increase.
Okay.
A well-deserved increase.
And what did they get an increase to?
I'm pretty sure they're somewhere near where I am right now.
Okay, so all the parole board members just got a big raise up to.
They did get an increase. I'm pretty sure they're somewhere around where I make 115. Is that? I think so.
Okay, that's great. I don't know why you'd ever want this job, to be really honest. I think it's the most horrible job in the world. It's always stunning to me that anyone wants to do it.
I do want it.
I know you do. Why do you want it?
I want it because I'm dedicated to this agency. I believe in what the agency does, and I can say that with conviction because I've been there. I think that this agency does wonderful things for public safety. I think that this agency, as it grows in the next couple of years, and it will, due to criminal justice reform, this agency is being revolutionized, and I want to be a part of it. I have assisted this agency, not on my own with the other managers, but I have assisted the agency in getting prepared to implement this massive criminal justice reform that has come our way. I think it was State House News yesterday that again commented about the fact that something like this hasn't happened in decades. And a lot of this is going to change the face of parole. I want to be a part of that. I really, really do. I have assisted the agency in drafting policies and procedures to help implement what this law is going to look like for the agency, lobbying A&F to try and get the money to ensure that we have the staffing to carry out these policies. I've done all that in the background. Now I want to have the benefits of seeing it in action and feeling it and touching it. And by being a parole board member, I think that I can have that.
I just asked you because it seems a very backward move to me. It really honestly does. It's a nonsensical move in my mind. But the thing that still, it sticks in my craw, and I can't figure it out, although I think deep inside me I do know what the answer is. I just don't understand, because you know from what I've said earlier, this is one of my passions, one of my pet peeves, how this board is managed, and frankly, I believe greatly mismanaged. I'll be very frank with you. We had a better ROI before, with less money, less people, more efficient. Your staff has increased, your budget has increased. Now you're saying you need even more budget to do work that was being done faster and more efficiently. What's going on over there?
Well, I can't comment on when I wasn't there. I can only comment on what I've heard and what I know now. I know that I believe the time period that you're talking about is probably about 8 or 9 months of time during the board's existence. I think you're talking about when Dr. Bonner was chair, around that time when the decisions were up to speed. Am I right?
Even before that, nothing. It has never been, and until after the Sinelli incident. I mean, there is a whole timeline there, and everything did come to a screeching halt. Nothing happened, and then they were rebuilding. They got to a national standard. I don't know who was the chair or not. I don't know if it was Wall or Bonner. I don't know. I don't really care, to be really honest. But what I do know is they were doing a better job with less money and less staff. What happened?
All I can say is when I joined the agency, I know that it was important to this chairman and this administration to ensure that the decisions were being written by the same group of people, and they were being written in a certain fashion. I know that when the chairman came in, they were being written by many, many different people. There were inconsistencies. Some were being turned over quickly. Some were not when we arrived. Some were sitting in this pattern called action pending, and they were sitting for a really, really, really long time.
How long? A year?
Well over a year. So
that's I have to tell you, that's the first time I've ever heard that. Because they had a reputation for really turning things around quickly. There were incredible systems, again, set by national standards, that were in there and were working really well, that have just been disassembled for really no apparent reason by somebody with no background in parole whatsoever. It's very, very disturbing to me. I can't tell you the number of calls I get about this. I can't tell you the number of calls I get from people who have worked there and don't work there anymore, about feeling it's a hostile work environment, feeling that morale is terrible, feeling that people are intimidated if somebody is better educated than them, that it's just a very different place. And that concerns me, because in the last administration, there was a similar situation in an agency where something like this happened. It ended up blowing up in the governor's face in a very unpleasant way. But nobody here seems to, it's all this. Everyone's pointing at somebody else. It's just literally, it's stunning to me. But I don't think I'm going to get any answers, because according to you, everything's hunky-dory, it's happening fast, and it's going really well, and everyone's happy. So,
Not necessarily. I do think, I will agree that there is absolutely room for improvement. There's always room for improvement.
yeah, there is.
I agree. I agree.
What would you improve?
Well, like I said, we did, in an effort to ensure that those decisions are going out quicker, we did hire that attorney. We are
But
working on.
why? I'm sorry, I have to ask you this again. Why do you continuously need more staff? Why, when the other parole board was ordered to cut staff? It doesn't make any sense. And you are in a leadership position where you oversee 200 people right now. So you really should have an answer for me for this.
I do.
Yes, please.
As you mentioned earlier, the agency and the budget, which is primarily salary, was cut drastically. This is not a big agency, so when you cut the agency $3 million, that's a huge hit. The agency has spent several years trying to recover from that. Absolutely, one chairman or one executive director is going to do things differently than another,
Of course.
no doubt. And perhaps there are some right ways and some wrong ways, understood. But now we're finally able to backfill the positions that we lost. And we are at a point where we are status quo. And we are at a point where we're hiring because of the fact that we are changing the face of our entire agency. We just put 15 parole officers on the street as new hires right before Christmas. We are in the process of hiring 20 more because we expect that over the next year, there could be upwards of 60 to 100 additional people a month getting released on mandatory release.
Get it.
The agency's changing.
I get it. And I understand that, and I respect your answer to that. So, and that's great that you're going to be hiring 20 more parole officers. And I'm sure you've had more than 15 apply before, so you probably have a good group already to pick from. Do you believe in rehabilitation?
Absolutely.
Do you believe in commutations?
I do.
Do you believe in pardons?
I do.
Would you hire someone who had a pardon or a commutation if they were qualified and they passed the test?
Quite possibly I would.
Possibly or yes?
Well, it depends on who it is and what the job is and what their qualifications
Would you
are.
hire them as, well, what do you hire for that someone like that would be qualified for?
Well, I'd
Hire them to work in the
attorneys,
office?
Yes, they probably wouldn't.
Would you hire them to work in the office?
Perhaps.
Would you hire them to work as a parole officer?
I don't think they would.
Why?
Because you can't have any sort of felony conviction.
If you have a pardon, you don't.
Oh, if it's a pilot, you're talking about commutation. Yeah, perhaps. If
Yeah,
they took a
but
civil
pardon, you
service,
don't.
if they took a civil service test and they scored and they were a candidate,
They would be hired.
they would be eligible to be hired. Sure.
They'd be eligible to be hired.
Well, I
But-
can't make any promises, Counselor. I don't know. But would I consider it? My answer is yes.
And right now, people are being, you oversee the scheduler, and they're being evenly distributed throughout the state. And the reason that concerns me is because of what it costs the state to be sending people all over the place. I mean, it had always been done geographically, and we're losing, and this is not against you, this isn't something about you, but we're losing a western seat, which means that you and some of the others, and I would think seniority might have something to do with it, I don't know, that you would, you know, low man on the totem pole has to travel the farthest. How valuable do you think the institutional knowledge is in that agency?
The institutional knowledge within parole,
Yeah, in the agency.
I think is tremendously valuable. That's one of the reasons why I think that I would have a lot to offer the parole board right now, in addition to my skills and my experience.
Because you have institutional knowledge.
Because I've been there, because I know the agency, because I believe in it, because I have good relationships with the folks that are there and have devoted themselves to it. I also have a tremendous amount of faith in our field services unit. I don't think if I were to be confirmed as a parole board member, I would not be able to make decisions confidently to parole somebody if I didn't have faith in that field services unit, that they will do everything that they need to do to adequately supervise someone.
So you also oversee, do you have paralegals?
I don't. I have a She
wasn't,
responds to records requests.
is that Julie Pease? Is that Julie Pease?
No, Julie Pease works in the Human Resources Department. She's been working.
Oh, because she was with Parole paralegal for over 24 years.
She is with Parole, and she was put into a Human Resources position when we didn't have anyone in Human Resources, and we had a huge gap that had to be filled over there. I was not an executive director at the time, but she was moved over there to fulfill that need, and she's done really, really well.
Well, I'm sure she has. She's brilliant.
Yeah,
But,
she's
well,
done well.
that seems like a waste of a person to me. Someone like Julie Pease is human resource. I'm not saying she's not doing well,
job.
but going back to what we just talked about, institutional knowledge, there's probably nobody that knows, because of the amount of time she's been there, the ins and outs of the legalities and the real intricacies.
She knows the agency well.
Than anybody else.
Correct.
I just know that from when there were pardons and commutations. How many pardons and commutations are before you right now?
Pending, there's probably around 240, 250.
Pardons or commutations?
Both.
So can you break it down for me, roundabout?
I mean, by year, I can tell you that 2018, we had, I believe it was 10 commutations and about 30, 32 pardons.
In front of you.
For the year, that's how many were filed. Since.
So cumulatively now, there's 240.
I believe it's around 240, 250.
Okay.
Because some were withdrawn.
So why aren't we seeing any? Why are none of them getting to the governor's office? Because and Council Jubenville knows this as well, and probably all of them, but he and I asked the governor on a pretty routine basis, when are we going to see these?
Right. I am hoping soon. As I just mentioned and talked about the $3 million cut and how it affected us over a few years, we have spent the last couple of years trying to recoup from that and then diving into the massive task of criminal justice reform. It has taken a tremendous amount of time and all of our resources in order to ensure that we were preparing for this incredible change. We have not had the resources to do anything but what we've done. We have done, in addition to trying to ensure that all of the litigation that I mentioned is being handled appropriately. Litigation now has more attorneys than ever. The individuals that are being represented for hearings, there are more attorneys than ever, which means that there are more discovery requests than we've ever had before. All of that is done through the Office of General Counsel. So unfortunately, we have not had the resources to do any of that, but we are hoping that we can soon.
So you haven't recovered yet from that $3 million cut?
I would say very, very recently, towards the middle of this past year, we were finally to a point where we had backfilled. We'd hired back the folks that had lost their positions, and we had backfilled positions due to attrition and folks retiring.
Some people, it was really upsetting because people were actually fired. I mean, people were, right before they were eligible for retirements and pensions, they were fired. I don't know if you were there or not, but I mean, that's dreadful in a position. That's getting rid of somebody so you can put somebody else in there.
Yeah, I was.
I mean, that's pretty cruel. That's cruel.
Understood. I was not at the agency when folks were let go, but of course knew about it, heard about it. It impacted the agency greatly. People were shaken by it. It's a very, very difficult thing to see anybody go through. It's a difficult thing to see the agency go through. So even though I was there after the fact, that wasn't lost on me.
So last summer, you said, and correct me, because I don't want to misspeak to you. Last summer around July, you were contacted to apply for this position.
I believe it was July.
Okay.
End of July, beginning of August.
And did you interview for it?
I did.
And, I mean, did you, sure you interviewed for it, but did you come into the State House and did you meet with the governor and legal counsel and all that?
I did.
And when did that happen?
That was well after the fact. I met with Executive Director Casey and Chief Legal Counsel, which I want to say that was September, maybe October, and then shortly after that, I met with the Lieutenant Governor.
I'm sorry,
I met with the Lieutenant Governor.
So in this really almost is not a question for you. So they've known for a long time they weren't reappointing this person. And they didn't tell them how much notice did they, and I don't know this Abby Soto. I literally couldn't, if that lady walked into this room, I wouldn't know who she is. But they knew since July they were getting rid of her.
Well,
when did they,
if I may,
how much notice did they give her? Do you know?
I don't know.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
No. When I sat with Governor's Legal, I wasn't told that it was a certain position.
You just said it's a parole board position.
Exactly.
So there were only two people whose terms are expiring.
Well,
or are expired.
right. So
you
how did I know?
interviewing
I didn't know which one, nor did I know if this was an immediate
Oh
job
no, I understand that.
opportunity.
But
I didn't ask those types of questions because I didn't feel as though I should.
I agree with you. I think you're absolutely correct. And that's why I was saying before, this almost doesn't have anything to do with you. But it's disturbing to me again, and this is about how things are done in this corner office. When it comes to this, that they have known since July that they were going to replace this woman. They didn't give her any notice. From what I understand, she got a phone call saying, "You're done." No courtesy 2 weeks notice, nothing. Not even from the chairman. I mean, wow, that's stunning. And that's not your fault, but that's cruel. That's not just stunning. That's downright mean and cruel. And it's unacceptable. And I don't care who you are. I don't care if you're my worst enemy. I wouldn't treat somebody like that. It's unprofessional. But again, not your fault. I mean, you were just interviewing for a job you wanted, and nothing wrong with that. Would you ultimately like to be a judge?
I don't know. Maybe someday. I don't know.
Because this is known for a springboard.
I've heard. I've heard.
Well, we all know
quite a
that.
bit.
We all know.
If I wasn't
We all know
thinking
that's
about it,
what.
I might now.
You might be. I think you're better off being a judge than being on the pro board. I think being on the pro board is far worse than being a judge, in my personal opinion. I think you're all nuts to even want to be on this. Will you pledge to me today that you will finish your 5-year term if you get it?
I don't think I could do that. I don't think I could do that. Only because I wouldn't want to make a promise that I couldn't keep. I have a very young family. I have no idea where life is going to take me.
Mm-hmm.
I don't. I will point, I'll stress my resume that I know you folks all have. And if you look at my resume, I don't jump from job
No,
to
I
job
see
to
that,
job.
but you didn't have, but you
I
just.
dedicate
yeah.
myself to a job. And I plan on
I get
dedicating
you.
myself to this one.
But you can't pledge to the Commonwealth that if we offer you a job, you can't guarantee us that you're going to serve out the term.
I can't guarantee where
I
I'm
mean,
gonna
and
be
I
in
know
6
that
months.
something could happen,
Right.
a personal thing could
Right.
happen, and that's a different thing.
So because
But
of
can
that,
you guarantee me that you wouldn't leave for another job?
I can't because I don't know where life is going to take me.
Okay.
I don't. I'm committed to this, and I will commit to this just as I have any other
Yeah.
position in my professional career.
Right. Okay, who keeps the statistics on the parole board? Because we've
Well,
asked for them a lot and we don't get them, but we also know, and I know this because I'm a numbers geek, that can make numbers do a whole lot of things that you want them to do. And that's part of the problem. It's not a challenge, it's part of the problem that we have with parole. Is that they tell us they're paroling people, but they're not really paroling people because those people are sitting in jail. That's not parole. Technically, yeah.
Those are two
All right,
questions.
legally, technically
Those are
it
two
is,
questions.
but it's not if you're the person sitting in there, right?
Can I start with the first one?
Please.
Okay. So as far as statistics, we, as you know, have a website, and
Yeah,
we
I
have
know
the
we get it up there.
last 3 years of annual reports are up on the website and available for anyone to see our rates and different aspects of the agency. We have a manager who started maybe a little less than a year ago, and she is our research and planning specialist.
For what is for statistics?
And parole. So in the event that I get a request that, I know Councilor Kennedy and I were talking about like public records requests. If I get a
Right.
request and it has to do with statistics,
Yeah.
that person will assist us in compiling the statistics.
Who's that?
Her name is Gina Papageorgiakis.
So that's who I contact when I want something.
Well, what we tell folks to do is put in a request through our public records portal.
Yeah, my
And-
folks. Yeah,
I'm sorry.
we're not folks.
I'm sorry.
We're your boss.
I'm sorry.
Because honestly,
Understood.
no, honestly, the governor can't fire you, we can. And that was part of the mistake that happened under Deval Patrick.
It was simply.
He had no, I'm not attacking you for it, but he had no authority to remove those people. Although, I mean, they retired or whatever you want to call it. But we are the only body that can remove you. And, not that it will ever happen, because as I said before, there's not a lot of courage in this part of the building. But, but go ahead, finish what you were gonna say.
So as far as public records, if we get a request through the public records portal, by law, it has to be answered within 10 days. In the event that we can't, we will reach out and try and work out an extension and provide the statistics or the information, however it's requested.
So if Council Kennedy or I, my dear colleague, ask for some statistics, who do we call and who's gonna break them down for us when we want? Cause I want the numbers broken down.
Well, Councilor Kennedy, we spoke about
Yeah.
public records request. If somebody did not choose to use that portal, they can certainly contact me, and I could spearhead getting the
Yeah.
information.
Do you-
long as we keep
Do
it.
you think, that I'm gonna keep repeating myself. Who do you think will be the next executive director? Who's the general counsel now?
I am.
So you're executive director and general counsel. So, and that's pretty common.
So that 117 is a twofer.
That's common in
I'm
business.
kidding.
That's not a big deal. So who do you think will be your replacement?
I don't know yet.
Do you think
This
they'll
has happened
post
so
it, or will
fast.
they do like what they did for you? They'll just call you up and give it to you?
I don't know. Like I said, this is moving quite quickly.
Because honestly, and again, this isn't an attack on you. This is an attack on the process, or a very serious question to the process. That there really is a complete disregard for the process. And it could be listening to all these people today talk about, some more sensible than others. But people aren't getting a fair chance to apply. And that's, it's fairness and real judicial prudence is what really concerned me about this, because it seems to have gone to hell in a handbasket. With complete disregard. I mean, I can't tell you how many times I've called Chairman Tressler and he doesn't call me back. The arrogance. It's arrogant.
He doesn't always call me back.
It doesn't matter. I'm his boss.
I understand.
Do you understand?
I do.
But he doesn't. He really doesn't. And we all know he's going to be up for judgeship. We all know that's his goal. That's his end game. I mean, that's been it from the beginning. So, but anyway, that has nothing to do with you. I'm finished, Mr. Chairman. Thank you. Thank you for your time.
We all done?
I'm well done.
Wow.
Duff wrapped it up.
Councilor Devane.
Thank you. Thank you for all the time you reported me. I think it's very good knowledge, and I really appreciate the time. Well, a lot of the questions have been answered by my colleagues, Councilor Duff and Councilor Iannella. But I asked every nominee about process. That's basic and very important to me. And some of the things that Councilor Duff just said. Some of the things that Councilor Duff has said resonates with me, because I have said that I will not vote for anyone who's not going to do it vacancy, because that's a public process and that's the way it should be. And I don't want to name myself make same way about every board and commission. If it isn't the process, it's followed. Okay, now, before I get to follow up with Council Duffy talking briefly, but I can follow up on that process with you. But let's go back to the process of you being, getting this job as an executive director, and, tell me how you got that job. Did you, was it publicly posted? How's it go?
No, we the executive director left the agency, and shortly thereafter, the chairman asked if I would be willing to take on that.
Is that how the process, they don't advertise? They just do it?
That's what he asked me to do, and I indicated that.
You know what is so baffling to me? You started this job July 2018, and at that time, you were asked by the chair if you would be interested to be on the board. It blows my mind. Now, let's think about July 2018. You just started in this role, and you have been called by Glenn Povich, Sharon Casey, to ask, would you like to be a member of the parole board? And you said yes, and you sent in a resume. I'm for open public process. That's why I'm here. This is not how government should work. Government should not work like that. Every person should have the ability to see a posting, a public posting, and to apply if they're interested in that position. Okay? I have been asking for months and months and months. We have someone 18 months whose tenure has expired. Lucy Soto, Atty. I disrespect her, going to work every day, not knowing the job. And Charlie Bonham, which was like 7 months. Every time I answered, adjourned, and Lieutenant Governor Block. I have never got a reply. And you know what? We teach our young children, when someone speaks to you, answer. That's how I have been disrespected, and also Council Duff has asked about it. So it's with that disrespect you have to realize where we're coming from. You started the job in July, and you got a job from Ron Povich asking if you wanted to be a member of the parole board. I don't buy that.
Actually, if I could just
You
clarify.
told me it was in the summer, they called you.
They did. So you're correct, absolutely. My tenure as executive director did begin in July 2018. But technically, the chairman didn't ask me until, I think it was beginning of September, and he backdated it because he knew that I was doing the work for the agency. I was essentially assisting him in running the agency. So when he said, would you be executive director? It was probably the beginning of September, and he said, I'm gonna backdate this to July.
Yeah, let me follow up in Council Duff again. I called him, no answer. No. This whole shadow of disrespect and backdoor stuff bothers me. It really, really bothers me. Because if that was my daughter that was looking to be on a board, or whatever, and I found out, hey, they called her and asked her if she wanted to be it. You did interview. There was no opening. You did interview, so there was no public, advertising. So I couldn't deal with that. Now, the other thing is that I have a problem with is that you said that you have no connection with drug addiction. Did you say that?
Right, I don't have any training in it or
Okay.
anything like
Okay,
that.
well, just let me tell you, you heard Councilor, the chair today, say that he voted against a member of the parole board because he didn't know about drug addiction. You heard that. Okay, given that, you have to realize the position I'm in. I have been in a position to throw this person out, they've already thrown her out, and I'm looking at the statement that I made for her reappointment on March 6, 2013. And I said, in my entire tenure, Lucy Soto Abbey is the only member of the parole board who comes with such life experience. First of all, she was a victim witness advocate in the court, and she worked with reentry for inmates. So she came with that knowledge, okay? And also, she graduated with in science of, Master of Science in Forensic Psychology from American International College, okay? People are just not talking about that, but she brought a lot to the board. But this is what I said here. She grew up in a dangerous crime area. In her household, she lived with family members who were drug addicts and a victim of domestic abuse herself. She has a close family member who was incarcerated for life for murder. When she was asked in her hearing, when drilled specifically about drug addiction, she responded without hesitation. When asked what experience she had with drug addicts, she replied, personal. When asked if a heroin addict should be put in prison, she replied, it is a disease and there are options to be employed without sending someone who's addicted to prison. Lucy visits inmates in all the prisons one-on-one on a regular basis to find out their needs, including food to medication. And I said she has learned so much from 2011 to 2013. And also, we never had, in my tenure, anyone that was on the board that came and testified. And Roger came and testified, and he said that he worked with 12 parole board members. Lucy Soto Abney was the most outstanding, hardest working, and most compassionate. She's also Hispanic, but speaking Spanish, she's a great asset on this position. Okay, given that, the other thing is, you did say to me that, being a judge, you wouldn't rule it out. I'm concerned about your answer that you wouldn't pledge to us. I've never seen that before, that no one would pledge 6 years to be on the parole board. So I appreciate your honesty. The thing is that this whole process is really upsetting because I'll tell you, no parole board member who has been relieved of the job has ever called me, okay? And in my tenure, before there's only Councilor Duff present, but before the present councils that I'm sitting with, except for Chris Iannella, I had 4 that were up, that were not reappointed. And out of those 4, I voted no on 2. Okay? So I do my job and I am very fair about it. And I'm looking at Lucy, that she really was treated so badly. And everything I said about her, the compassion she has, this government didn't show the compassion. I called her, never have called any parole board member that has been thrown off the board. I called her and I said, first I called, she had me answer. So then, sure. And I says, tell me, how were you told what happened? Because I've been asking for months. And she said, I was called in, and I'm going to correct. I got it right from. She said that, Lucy said that she got a call the day before New Year's Day. Called in, and they told her, you are not going to hear the parole board hearing the day after tomorrow. They're through, here is your insurance papers, all the things she needed to follow up. It's too bad that only Councilor Duff was here. I really feel this is so.
No, that's what I said, the day before New Year's.
It is so
New Year's
important.
Eve. It's absolutely.
But the thing is that, for me, you don't treat people like that. And I don't think if you work for Dunkin' Donuts, they say, here's your insurance papers. I think they might give you 2 weeks. Don't you think they might give you 2 weeks? But all I'm saying is, I would like to know, what is the reason for someone outstanding who has seen both sides, victim witness, that was her job in the court. She helped reentry for inmates to make sure that they could re-enter society successfully. And yet, she had drug addiction in her life. What else would we expect from a parole board member? And someone who testified, he worked with 12 of them, and she was the best, compassionate. This is not compassion in any sense of thing. Now, you're not responsible for that procedure. But when I see you started July 18, you told me that the chair asked you previously if you would be interested in being the board. Follow up, all of a sudden, summer, same time you are just serving, they want you to jump out of there and be on the board. How do you think that we, counselors, do you think that we're going to ignore all of this inside stuff? It's really upsetting to me. Parole board is important. We've got someone who's committed to it, and we've got someone that's being considered who said, don't count on me for 6 years. So I'm just saying that it's a lot to take on. I had a lot of questions, but I'd be repetitious if I ever went on. But I don't think that it's Lon Povich and Sharon Casey's position to call someone, you, me, her, anybody, and to say, hey, would you like to be on the board? That's not the way I took an oath of office, because I came in here for transparency, to change the board from prosecutors, all prosecutors, and I think I've been successful, and I'm happy with when I go there and I see how they conduct themselves, and it's just heartbreaking to see someone, and even the professor who came today, who was fighting against Lucy Soto, and she talked on her. She says she's learned a lot, she's come a long way. She wants her to stay. So I'm saying, do you think that we need more prosecutors on the parole board? Not you, but I mean, do you think that we need more prosecutors on the board? You know, do you think that we're lacking in that?
I think, as I said earlier, I think a balance is important. And I think that there is some balance, but I also think my skills that I learned from being a prosecutor would be a tremendous asset to the board. I do have compassion. I do have those years of dealing with victims in very, very dark moments. I have the ability to assess the case. I have the ability to assess the credibility of an individual, to look at the entire picture. I think all of those skills are very, very, very important. That's what I took, not just labeling me as a prosecutor, but those are the skills that I've learned, and those are the skills that I've applied to this job.
We're taking someone out to put a prosecutor in.
But with all due respect,
But you are, 14 years. But let me just say this. For this person, who we got a letter, 2013, from a woman, Nikki Fry, who was incarcerated, and said how much that Lucy Soto did for her and gave her new life. And she talked about being Thanksgiving with her family. She has seen all of these criminals. She visits in the prison. She's seen both sides. What is your personal experience to meet that?
my personal experience to meet
She's lived with members who are drug addicts.